Good afternoon. This is your professor, Jeremiah Barber. One of the big things that we're going to go through is some different issues that have initially arisen. And one of the big things is if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I think I just wanted to check in, see how everybody was doing. This is week number 4, and we're pretty much roaring along, and we're coming along and everything else. Within that, I just wanted to make sure that each of you are still on board, that you're still moving forward. Within that, let's see, I will pull this up. Bear with me. The first one is the APA formatting. One of the big things is, if you notice, I'm a big stickler on APA formatting. The reason being is from here on out, you'll be utilizing a lot of APA formatting, which is the American Psychological Association's formatting for research and also for scholarly writing. Within that, there are some, if you go on to, I believe it was the Essentials or the Resource tab of your course, if I will go there right now. Let's see, I believe it was resources. Bear with me. Yes, it has APA style formats, hints, and also APA's 6th edition sample paper. Initially, that's a sample paper that you're going to be utilizing in terms of your research paper. One of the big things is the APA style format hints kind of just helps you as you're going along. In addition to that, I just want to make sure that everybody's on board in regards to the formatting style. If you notice, I think some ended up losing points for small things like putting bibliography instead of references and stuff like that. Making sure that the first page is going to be your initial cover page, stuff like that. And also, one of the big things is you're noticing is citing, and I think that's one of the big things is whenever you cite anybody's work, whenever you're talking about somebody and you're going to use them as a reference point and you're writing it in your paper and you have quotes on it, and I'm a big believer in quotes. I mean, that's what you need to put into your paper. But in addition to the quotes, a lot of times that's all you'll put is just the quote, and I don't know where you got that quote from. You'll have a reference point to a page number. I don't know where you got that page number. So I'm usually just trusting that you got it from a reliable source, because sometimes I'll scroll down to the bottom of your discussion. These are discussion questions or the discussion forum, and some of them will have no reference and no information about where you pull that information from. And one of the big things is you want to make sure that you give credit where credit is due. If you say, for example, even if it's a YouTube video or even if it's a TV show that you watch, one of the big things is if, say, for example, you're pulling from a movie or whatever, you're going to go on to, I think it was IMDb. Hold on. Yes, IMDb ratings and reviews, and that's where you're going to pull up the information about the movie itself. Say, for example, you're using a movie reference and you just love the quote and it really brings the message across, and you're using that movie quote, you still have to make sure that you're citing where it's coming from as well. And if you go on to the English.Purdue, I think it was, the Purdue OWL, within that, it even has reference to how to reference movies and to reference YouTube videos and to reference articles and everything else. The reason why is you're learning to get into that mode. And I know some of you have indicated that this is kind of like a new thing for you. I'm hoping it's not, because usually you get that viewpoint in English. I believe it was English 111, our primarily introduction to English, or English, the beginning of English. So within that, one of the big things is some of it you're gonna already be steeped in it. So within that, that's one of the things I'm looking at is within my course. That's what you're learning. You're learning to implement. I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel or anything else. All I'm doing is asking you to make sure that you're citing where you're getting this information from, and also referencing it at the bottom. If you notice, there's things that I've highlighted within your papers that indicate how to reference it. One issue that I did come across a lot was a floating reference, where you would quote the information and then you'd put a period and then you'd put the other stuff where you would reference their information, and it kind of just floats off in the middle, and then you start another sentence. Within that, I don't know if that one now goes to the next sentence or the previous sentence. So that's where you're trying to make sure that it transitions into your paper. One of the big things I'm always a big stickler on is also too many quotes. The reason why is I don't want you to quote all the information from all these sources. I want you to read what they've shared. Say, for example, if you're getting informational from an article, I want you to be able to see it, read it, interpret it in your own way so that you understand it. And that's when you're writing down, this is how it is interpreted from my perspective. And then that's when you would reference and use that in-text citation. Because I think sometimes we end up just pulling and pulling and pulling, and that's not what I want. I don't want you to just simply cut and paste. I want you to be able to learn the information, interpret the articles, and then use it from your own perspective. And that's where you would then use the referencing. Within that, you also have discussion questions. This week's discussion question, it's already up right now. Let me pull it up right now. Hold on, bear with me. I don't want to lose you. One of the things, if you notice, is it says note, you will need to utilize the book and or the articles for your support of your answers. Within that, that's what it's saying is within this exercise, you will have to either utilize the book or you will have to use the articles, or you can use both. But when you're writing your information, I want you to be able to read the article or even use it from your book, and I want you to be able to interpret it from there, but still give credit where credit's due to the authors of those given texts. And these are for your postings. And again, it does indicate that this does differ from your previous submission. Again, that was from the previous also. One of the things is you have about 8 different articles that looks at dreams, that looks at hypnosis, that looks at the science of meditation, and it looks at the dream and waking aspects. It looks at hypnosis and relaxation. Within that, you have the choice, and that's where I think some have simply either written on all of them or you've come up with your own. I urge you not to come up with your own, just simply follow what is right there. But one of the things is you have the choice of choosing one. You can choose one of the given areas below. So one is in dreaming, we begin to see what we desire, fear, or imagine. And then you have another one on 2, it says, have you ever experienced times where you were sleep deprived? And then the third one is hypnosis has long been viewed as having an altered state of reality. So you can choose one of those. And I think that's where a lot of individuals are getting confused about. You're either selecting all of them and answering all of them. That's great if you do, but it does, again, if you look at it, it's only supposed to be 100 words, and that's all I'm asking for. It's until after the given, I believe after your midterm, then we're going to start looking at 250 words, and that's where things change a little. But overall, I'm wanting you to make sure that you have added support. It indicates above you also have articles that can be applied to your discussion questions as added support for your discussion postings. Again, one of the big things is, and I love the fact that a lot of you are sharing different aspects of your lives, everything else, but from a scholarly outlook, you also want to make sure that when you're interpreting a lot of this information, you don't only just want it from a first-person perspective, you also want to have an objective outlook. Because when you have a first-person perspective, a lot of times information can become biased. So within that, you're having to share from different perspectives. That's where you have the articles, that's where you have the book, to share this is how they looked at it, and I'm in agreement, and this is the reason why, or I'm against it, and these are the reasons why. And that's one of the big things that I'm always looking at. So again, if you notice, it says when citing from books, articles, utilize proper APA formatting and proper referencing. Again, I'm a big stickler on that. In addition to that, you have 2 different due dates, if you notice. So you have a whole week. So you have a time when it's submitted or when it's a new discussion question is open, and this one opened this morning at 11 or at 12 this morning. And one of the big things is it's open all the way up until the end of the day, Sunday next week at 11:59. But understand, there are two dates two dates that initially you're looking at. So date number one, due date number one, is your original font. That's your posting. That's when your first posting is due. That's the thing that you're interpreting. This is your perspective, everything else. So you're submitting that on by Thursday. And a lot of times I think a lot of individuals look at it and thinking, oh my goodness, this is a lot. Again, if you notice, there's no taken or there is no checklist to make sure that you attend class. So within that, these are kind of like checklists. These are things where you're looking at, you're interpreting it. And the reason why there's two different due dates, the first one is the posting. The reason why I want you to post then rather than posting it all on Sunday is that this gives other learners the opportunity to respond to your given posts. They're able to say, okay, this is what this person, this is how they interpret it. Now I can respond. Great, 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 great. And again, within that, a lot of you have been able to do that. You've been able to submit it by Thursday. That's your postings. You're able to submit it by Thursday. And then after that, that's when you submit the other one, the responses. And I've had some students that submit everything. Say, for example, it opens up, it'll open up this morning at 12 a.m. and you have a student, say, for example, that's me. Say, for example, I'm that student. And I start logging in, I start writing up my posting, I type up everything that I need to do, I submit it, and then another student submits theirs, and we both have ours, and we both respond that Monday morning and everything else. Guess what? You're done for the week. I've had some students that are waiting and they're thinking, okay, I'll submit everything by Sunday. Guess what? You now lost 5 points because you waited. You get the response points, yes, because that's due until the second half, but the first half, you don't get any points for that. And again, that's one of the things is I know different things come up. I know different issues come up. I know different things happen within your home. All these different things, that's unique and everything else. But again, if you look at it, you're looking at what time am I willing to set aside for my academic studies? And that really comes down to you. A lot of times, a lot of students always say, it's always the instructor's fault. It's everything else with the instructor. Again, it's not up to the instructor. The instructor primarily just lays down everything, kind of offers the information, everything else, and it's up to you to regurgitate it, to reiterate it, to share your perspectives. And I leave it up to you in terms of how you implement it. So hopefully that answers some questions for the discussion board and discussion forum. The next is the topic of choice papers. To be honest, a lot of them is very original work, and I love the fact that you guys all submitted them. A majority of you did submit them, and within that, I enjoyed reading them. In all honesty, I tried to give as much feedback as I could in terms of what I was reading. The reason why is I want to be able to share as much as I can with you. If you have questions, even in regard to that, email me. Say, for example, you're coming along and you're like, I didn't really get what he meant by this point, or I didn't get what you meant by this point. Again, within that, email me. It's the best form of contact. If you're on campus, my office hours, you have it in my syllabus. It showcases my office hours. So within that, it's up to you. Again, I leave that up to you. In terms of, again, it's not like a regular classroom where you're able to raise your hand and everything else. So again, I leave that up to you in terms of reaching out to me so that you're able to have those questions answered, so that you're able to say, okay, these are the issues that I'm having and everything else. So again, I leave that up to you again because you guys are all adults. So that's how I look at it. I look at you guys each as adults, and then within that, is it going to impact you in terms of how you make the choices? Yeah. I mean, if, say, for example, you wait until the last minute and you get a horrible grade, again, that's literally up to you. So that's how I leave it. In regards to internet and IT issues, one of the big things I'm always looking at is I do communicate very closely with IT. The reason why I say that is my office and where the building is located at, it's literally just right next door to the IT service. So initially, I'll just walk over if there's issues with IT, and I'll ask, have you heard of this student, and have they indicated that they have issues? And they'll give me either a yay or nay, and within that, that's how I go forward. If you've had issues, again, it is your prerogative to, one, alleviate that issue. Um, because one of the big things is this is an online class, it's an online course. So within that, you are the learner. So again, you're going to have different issues come up. So within that, I urge you to make sure you get on top of it as soon as possible. Don't wait until the last minute to say, hey, you know what, Mr. Barber, this is what's happening, everything else. And so that's one of the big things is making sure you're always clear in terms of what your given assignments are. And again, you also have a syllabus so you can contact me. Office hours. You know my office hours. They're Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And even throughout the week. Say, for example, I'm usually on campus as well. So within that, that means one, if, say, for example, the office hours don't mesh up with your schedule, Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday, roughly, if, say, for example, you want to meet outside of those given office hours and you're like, hey, you know what, I just have these burdensome questions and everything else, then again, reach out to me because again, I am that initial resource. And if you wait until the last minute, again, sometimes those last minute calls, everything else, I'll try to help you to resolve them. But again, if we're moving along, we're moving along. And within that, again, I try to urge you to stay on top of it. Submission of work. The other issue that I have is um, you each know when the deadlines are. Within that, you know if they don't change, they initially, so every Thursday the postings are due, and then every Sundays the responses are due. Within that, say for example, your internet goes down and you are unable to, and I know everybody has a cell phone. I know everybody usually has a smartphone or an Apple phone. So within that, you also probably have internet on your phone. And so within that, a lot of times I've had individuals come up with different excuses. And within that, again, I urge you to think outside of the box to make sure that you submit it. And one area that I've seen is some individuals have submitted their work through email. And that's amazing. That's great. But in addition to that, after you submit it through email, at least I know when it was due and when you submitted it because it'll come up on my on my email indicating that you submitted on this time, and it'll kind of timestamp it for me. So within that, you're able to submit it that way. After you submit it, double check your email because one, I cannot input that grade into Blackboard if you've never uploaded it through Blackboard. It makes a lot, it literally, I would say it's almost impossible because one, if you try to upload or you try to put the grade in, it will indicate that student has or learner has not attempted, and therefore I don't want you to lose out on points for that. But if you submit it at a certain given time before the given due date, then it shows to me, yes, you know, you submitted it, great, awesome. So the next time you finally have internet service again, submit it again. Submit it not through the email this time. You're going to submit it through the actual assignment portion to make sure that I'm able to grade it, everything else. But hopefully that covers some of the outlooks. Because again, one of the big things is communication. I cannot urge that enough. Communication is key. A lot of times, some individuals have indicated, you know, how come I'm not getting any feedback? Again, it's one of those things where if it's for papers, do bear in mind you're not the only student. I think a lot of individuals believe that they are the only student in that whole course. But bear in mind that there are multiple students that are also submitting their same papers. Within that, I usually give you about a week to at least during that 7 days, I'll be grading your papers and everything else and get everything kind of situated for you so that you're able to look at then your paper. But overall, do bear in mind that there are other students within the course, so do keep that in mind. Let's see what else. I think that covers everything for now. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Again, if you go up, if you scroll up into your resources, the resource portion, week 3 PowerPoint is up. Week 4 PowerPoint is also up. In addition to that, there's also a very simple video. I would urge you to watch the video. It's a simple video. It's a rap video, if you like rap. So within that, it's about the brain, and I always enjoy it. It's funny. It's hilarious. Within that, I'm hoping everybody is still on board. Um, I think that covers everything for now. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. So have an awesome day until we actually meet in person sometime. I don't know when that'd be. But again, if you see me on campus, if you have any questions, even when I'm on campus at Sealy campus, you can stop me and say, hey, you know what, I'm having this question. So that I'm able to have quick access and everything else and be able to talk to you about certain things if you're having issues with that. But other than that, I think I am out for the day. So have an awesome day. Enjoy your week. There's some due dates coming up, so be awesome.